Well, hey guys, well, welcome back to this week's episode of the American Landman. You know, it's a rainy day here, a rare rainy day here in Northwest Wisconsin, and we're getting maybe our fourth rain event the entire year. And I tell you what, I'm loving the raindrops hitting the top of the barn here, the sound of thunder, because my food plots, if you've been following me, they've been struggling at best. Dry conditions, drought conditions, and I've struggled along, and I've actually got some decent growth this year, and this rain is much needed. So, but we're in the barn today talking about buying, managing, and selling land. And if you've never followed my channel before, if you're new to it, that's what we talk about here, American Land, how to buy a property, how to manage a property, and hopefully sell it eventually for a profit. And along the way, I try to document everything and bring my tips and my advice and all my experiences to this channel so that you can learn and do the same. Of course, I'm going to ask you to do this. Please subscribe. If you have, hit the like button, hit the share buttons, make comments below. I try to answer all of them. And if you'd like to call me, my number will be at the end of the video. Please feel free to give me a call. And all the people that are watching this channel that have called me and that are now working with me as a client, either buying or selling property, thank you to you. So I'm in the barn here. I got my daughter set up. She's shooting now, and she's got her own Matthews. I put on some grip tape, and I actually kind of liked it. So I went out and I bought some of my own, and I'm in here doing a little work. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're going to talk about a kind of a new topic here. I'm going to introduce a new player, new pro staff team, I guess you could call him, a new team member at Whitetail Properties Real Estate, Nick Pronold. Nick is an appraiser, and he came to me about a year ago and said, man, I want to be part of what you're doing. So long story short, a year later, I've hired Nick to work for me, and Nick is my buyer agent. But full-time, his main course of business is appraising. Nick owns an appraisal company or works for an appraisal company, and he's got a really keen eye when it comes to appraising American land, farms and recreational properties, land, so it's very unique. So today I take him along with me on one of our early listings that we're going to co-list, and I'm folding Nick into my business, but I'm also utilizing him for his. Nick walks around this property. He takes a very critical view. He's trying to educate me, hopefully educating you, on the things that appraisers look for when they appraise property. Very important to know the process when you're buying land, selling land, listing land, or maybe you're in the business. So in today's episode, I'm going to introduce Nick Pronold, the newest American Landman on my team. I hope you enjoy this episode. You're watching The American Landman.
Afternoon, I'm Nick Pronold, Whitetail Properties agent with Neil Hogger, the Wisconsin Landman. We're out here on a covert listing possibility today. We're a 5-acre hobby farm. Beautiful little home, a couple outbuildings. We're going to take a look around. I'm an appraiser by trade, but also a real estate agent. And so we're going to take a look at a property and see as I would walk through it and what you should be looking for when you're looking to purchase a rural country home. When I first arrive at a property, I'm going to take a look at the exterior of the buildings. So around any parts of the house or outbuildings or sheds that are on the property, and look at what is on the outside, and if there's any issues or defects on the outside, or if anything has not been maintained. Now, when you have open outbuildings like this one with no doors on them, you want to make sure you're really looking at the inside, looking up on top of the rafters and the support beams to see if there's any damage from water, moisture, or even bird damage. If the birds have nested on there for a long time, the wood can start to rot. This one looks like it's in pretty good shape. I don't see any major issues. It looks like it's been well taken care of. Now we have these much larger buildings that have full electrical, have concrete floors, and are insulated or heated like this big one here, and usually in much better shape or well taken care of because they're used consistently on a daily basis. This one, just from the first look, looks like it's a newer building, well put together. You can see the concrete floor, you can see electrical, and you can see the heating vent coming out of it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's inside. Now this outbuilding is very nice. You can see the nice hard concrete floors all the way across. It's got drains in the middle of the floor, allow for you to work on cars or clean equipment. And you can see the inside is also has the walls up where you could have it insulated on the inside, so it's well heated. Has the heater in the corner here to cover up all the space. This is a very well built, well maintained outbuilding. A lot more value in this type of outbuilding than the last two we looked at that are a little bit older or open buildings. The ones like this definitely get a lot more per dollar than the smaller ones that we're looking at. All right, so the big differences in pole barns and what I see every day, especially one like this, is that the value isn't really what you think it is and what you put into it. So a nice pole barn like this could cost $250,000. But I'm really going to look at it based on how the market displays it. In our market where we are now, it's really showing it maybe 50 to 60 cents on the dollar for what you put into it. So on, let's say it's $200,000 pole barn, you're looking at this maybe selling value, a marketable value of $100,000 to $125,000, which will be added to your land and to your house. And then when we look at it, when we're trying to sell your house as an agent and as an appraiser, when we're trying to appraise it, we're looking at the whole picture. So this is just part of it. And every little piece has a different value, but this one I would think is probably 55 to 60 cents on the dollar because it is well put together. It does have interior walls, 110 electrical, vents in the floor, and it is heated as well. All right, so that was a beautiful outbuilding. You know, a big thing when you're looking at these, if you're looking at properties, you're gonna want to make sure it has concrete floors. It had the really nice ones will have the drains in the concrete floors, allow you to work on the inside. Interior walls are a big thing because usually they're insulated with the interior walls, and then the electrical, either the 110 or the 220. Obviously, whatever fits your needs better is what you're going to want, but having electrical there is most important. And of course, the heating. If you're going to want to use it, especially where we live in Northwest Wisconsin throughout the year, you're going to have some kind of heating source, whether it be infrared, in-floor, or heaters up in the corner, the propane heaters. Any kind of heat essentially will work for these outbuildings, but you just want to make sure that if you're going to use it, and it's one that's going to have higher value on the appraisal side, it's going to have those things: the heat, electrical, concrete flooring, and the interior walls. All right, we've looked at the outbuildings. Now we're going to take a look at this house. I know you guys, aren't appraisers. You haven't gone through it, the training or the real estate, but a couple things we really look for on the appraisal side, especially on the outside, is the siding. The type of siding is vinyl, aluminum, hardy board, cement board. There's multiple different kinds. Each one does have its value. Well, each one is a different cost. Also, the roof is always a big thing. You want to make sure the shingles are in good shape. There's no peeling, no curling of any shingles. And if there's any discoloration, things like that you want to keep an eye on. Also, a big thing a lot of homeowners make, or first-time home buyers, is the soffits and the fascias. The soffit is what's underneath the roof that hangs over, and the fascia is what's on the front underneath the gutter. And if those are bare wood and not painted or stained or peeling and not covered nicely in the vinyl aluminum like this one is, then you're going to have some issues. So those are things you really want to look for on the exterior of a house. The soffit and fascia are the biggest things that new homeowners miss. Now, foundation issues can be one of the most expensive things that you go through as a homeowner if you have to have something repaired. Now, something like this looks like that there might have been a crack in here and they're just trying to stop from moisture getting on the inside of this block. But this really should be looked at and double checked to make sure there is no structural issues. Now, there is many companies out there that can come in and make sure that your foundation will last forever. There's houses that are hundreds of years old in the United States and their foundations are just reinforced and they continue to stand. So things like this aren't where your house is going to fall apart or fall down, but there is things that need to be looked at. So you really should have somebody come out, take a look, make sure there is no structural issues and nothing in the foundation is leaking or any water damage. All right, so one other part of your home when you're going around and looking, especially in these country homes, maybe older homes, are the windows. A lot of these windows are much older, could be 50, 60, 70 years old. So they're gonna have draft issues. So a lot of people put plastic on the inside, or they'll put these storms on and then they'll caulk around the edges to try and stop that cold air infiltration, come the cold winter months. This is not what you wanna do, right? You wanna get a newer storm window or replace the windows altogether. A lot of the newer windows now that are coming out are much more efficient, and the installers are much smarter about insulating around the edges so you don't have that leakage. The windows that were done in the early 2000s to even back in the late 90s are usually being refinished. They're called, a lot of them are nail and fin windows, and they weren't installed very well, they weren't insulated well, and they've had to be redone. These seem to be a little bit older than that. I would say maybe 80s windows or 70s, but those are usually more efficient, well-built windows. But as you can see here, these storms are here to protect from the interior. Now, you also want to look on the inside. A lot of them can be wood, which can cause a lot of issues, especially with our humidity and our hot and cold temps and expanding and contracting. Vinyl windows are always your best bet. They're going to last the longest, and they're going to be the most energy efficient in the winter months and the summer months. So this home has a nice front porch deck that wraps around the front here. And when you're looking at this kind of stuff, you want to just make sure that this wood isn't rotted. Looks like it's in really good shape. It's not soft. The railing isn't loose. This one looks pretty sturdy. Because, you know, a lot of these things, you know, when you come into this and you walk up to the front door, you're not looking or touching or pushing. It's when you've already moved in and you lean up against the railing and it falls down. But as you can see, a lot of this stuff is in still really good shape. It's been well stained and maintained. It's not peeling. So this is a well-maintained deck. This is what you should be looking for when you're looking at a new home, especially a country home, because a lot of these do have wood decks, and they're not all non-maintenance material. So it does have a little more maintenance for a wood deck, but it always has a nicer look to it. So the first thing I see when I walk into this home is these nice laminate floors. Obviously tailored to a country farmhouse. You know, they're much thicker than a normal board. As you can see, they have 6-inch or 8-inch boards, as well as 4-inch boards. So they have a nice mixture. Has been recently redone. And, you know, this wasn't out 5-10 years ago. It wasn't in style, so you know it's a newer floor. And you know, right away you can tell there's going to be some upgrades in this home. And as an appraiser, it allows you to start thinking of what you're going to be valuing and what condition the property's in by having these upgrades. It really gives you a sense of what the rest of the house can look like just by walking in the door. All right, so coming out of the kitchen into the dining room, you can see they put up this nice accent wall with a farmhouse, and it really is, you know, giving a little life to this space. Usually this dining kitchen area, you know, isn't as used as it could be, and you can see these people have done a nice job putting a nice accent wall in. It transitions you right into the living room. Newer carpet, as you can see. It's not matted down, it's not discolored. A lot of times with the older carpet, you can really see if there's a little discoloring or if there's matting where heavy traffic areas would be, like right here. Walking down the hallway, looks like it's been done the last few years. So that's a nice upgrade. As I look through, I'll note that down in my book saying, okay, fresh floors, laminate, and carpet throughout the first floor so far. All right, so as we're walking through this, as you guys can see, you know, fresh floors in this entire house. The only thing that's really missing are the doors and the trim. As you can see, the door trim, the floor trim is all the older wood, which is nice. But nowadays, a lot of styling is painted, either white, grays. So this house is already ready to go as far as the floors are concerned. Now you can come in as a new buyer and you can replace the doors, paint the trim, and it essentially looks like the house has been totally redone. After a little paint on the wall, redoing some of the pictures and such, you could come in here and somebody would be like, oh, have you redone the whole entire home? They wouldn't know that all you did is replace the interior doors and the trim. As you can see, they've continued these finishes throughout the house. They've redone the basement flooring. They've repainted. They've taken some of this old paneling that was probably like a dark brown back in the day and just painted right over it. Gives it a whole fresh look, makes it look like it was totally redone. And this place has a second kitchen on the inside, which is very rare and always a benefit when it comes to value. So this is a great property. Nice little home, well maintained, updated partially. Outbuildings are in good shape. Could use a little exterior maintenance, but overall in really good shape of property. Nice little nature area here. Creek frontage that comes back through, that goes all the way down to a larger river just down the path. So overall, this is a nice country home. Definitely will go quick.
Okay, well, that was an interesting one. It's a brand new listing that we hope to have. By the time you see this, I hope to have it under contract. A lot of folks think that all I focus on is land, hunting land, but it's not so. Nick is helping me develop another facet of my business. It's kind of rural residential. There's these farms that are transitioning into more of a residential area. Maybe some of the land has been sold off, and in this case, we're down to 5 acres, but it's still a very rural setting on the fringe of a lot of area that is all residential, but it's a country living, and it's perfectly suited for Nick and I to represent this, because a lot of our buyers, folks like you, are looking for these smaller parcels. You still need a residence to live on. Maybe you don't want to be too far from the nearest Starbucks or grocery store, but you want to be rural and you want to live on the country. Perfect situation, and that's exactly what we got there. Nick pointed out some great things. I thought he brought a lot to the table of how to appraise the buildings and look at foundations and take siding into account, and even the decor that you should focus on when you're listing a property. If you're flipping a property, you're improving a property, thinking that someday you're going to sell that property in the short term and the near term. Nick brings a lot to the table. So you're going to see Nick more often if you're in the business looking for a property, okay? If you're out there in the market working and you want somebody to represent you, Nick is a buyer agent. That's his job, to represent folks like you in their purchase, in their search for purchase. I'm hearing it all the time that buyers cannot find a property. By the time they get there, by the time they make an offer, it's already gone. The way that you cut that corner is you get a buyer agent like Nick. He's going to ask you to sign a buyer agency agreement with him. It's a contract between you and Nick to go find a property. Nick goes to work, and that is the best way to get the inside track on a property. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. As always, guys, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button and subscribe button, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and send me the comments and questions. Some folks are reaching out to me. I enjoy talking to you. I'll gladly answer the call. And those that have been watching this, as I said at the beginning, that are now working with me, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hey guys, as always, I'm Neil Hogger. I'm a land specialist agent with Whitetail Properties Real Estate in Northwest Wisconsin, and I'd like to be your guy in the land business. Thank you for watching The American Landman.